Hello, I'm Bob Havery in St. John's Church in Waterbury, Connecticut. We are in the season of Epiphany, and so I've chosen one of the great Epiphany hymns for us in this session today, and it is called Wie schön leuchtet der Morgenstern, or How Brightly Shines the Morning Star. You know, Epiphany is a season in which we celebrate the coming of the three wise men to see the Christ child. This particular hymn, How Brightly Shines the Morning Star, of course, is about that star that gathers them to come to Bethlehem to see the Christ child. The hymn that we're hearing today was written in Germany in the late 1600s. It's another one of those Lutheran chorales, and so the form of it is going to be quite similar to the ones that we looked at previously. If you saw last month's program, you saw how it was divided into certain phrases that had a regular order to them, and the form of this is remarkably similar. It begins with three distinct phrases. 1, 2, which is repeated. We have a quieter section. And then building to the end. The composer of the organ piece, based on that chorale melody, is going to be Johann Pachelbel. Now, Pachelbel was one of the great German organists who preceded Bach. He was in the generation just before Bach, and you may know him by some other music, that goes like... and so forth. The Canon in D by Pachelbel, also very often known as the Pachelbel Canon. In fact, that title is so ubiquitous that there's a musician's joke that asks the question, who wrote the Pachelbel Canon? All right, well, the piece that we're listening to by Pachelbel today uses this chorale melody that we just heard, and it's all about lightness, about light. How brightly shines the morning star. And for it, Pachelbel writes his keyboard parts all up in quite a high section of the keyboard. These keyboard parts do not go below middle C. Not unusual for the right-hand part, but even the left hand will stay down or stay up above middle C. At the beginning of the piece, he gives us a melody that just sounds exactly like the tune itself. And we think we're about to hear the melody. He'll break off that and imitate it in the left hand. But the two come together as counterpoint. And at that point, he brings the chorale melody into the pedal part, but the pedals, which normally play the low notes, will now be given higher pitches to play. And that all goes on while this wonderful counterpoint up above continues. Now, granted, hearing the melody that slowly is a bit of a challenge. You know, if you heard it in its regular rhythm, but because of the nature of the piece, it slows down to, okay, see, it's hard to pick that out. And Pachelbel seems to recognize this. So he does a rather interesting thing. He'll always give us a hint of the melody in a faster rhythm, more like the original rhythm of the hymn, before he plays it in the long notes in the pedal. So remember, there's this phrase that gives us the notes. Rather simple melody. In the pedals, it's going to come out. Okay? So what happens is we get it in the keyboard part first, and then in the long notes in the pedal. And so forth. So you'll always hear that little introduction to the phrase of the moment played in quicker notes, and then it trails off into some counterpoint to the tune itself. Bach was very fond of the music of Pachelbel. He became one of the composers who really influenced in his own music. And I hope in hearing this music, you'll understand and recognize the quality that Bach found in the music of this wonderful composer, Johann Pachelbel, and his chorale prelude on How Brightly Shines the Morning Star.